He was born in pain, labeled by sorrow, and nearly forgotten in a list of names. But one simple prayer changed everything. Jabez refused to let his past define him, and God listened. In the middle of a long list of names, generations of fathers and sons, tribes and clans, something unusual happens in the book of 1 Chronicles. The flow of names suddenly pauses, and 2 short verses break the pattern. Those 2 verses tell the story of a man named Jabez, a man we would have completely missed, if not for a prayer that changed everything. This is his story. In ancient Israel, names carried deep meaning. A name could reflect your future, your personality, your calling, or your pain. Jabez's name came from a moment of hardship. His mother named him Jabez, saying, "I gave birth to him in pain." That pain wasn't just physical. The Bible doesn't explain exactly what happened, but we're given a clue. Jabez's name would define him. To be named Jabez was to be called pain. Every time someone said his name, they were reminded of grief, sorrow, or regret. Maybe his birth came during a time of war. Maybe she lost someone she loved during pregnancy. Maybe he was born into poverty, or he caused complications during birth. We don't know. But we know this: from the beginning, his identity was tied to suffering. In a culture where names shaped destiny, this could have crushed a man. Many would have accepted their label, lived small, stayed in the shadows. But not Jabez. 1 Chronicles 4 verse 9 begins with something remarkable. Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. He wasn't just different. He was honored, respected, marked by something greater than his past. It's not because he achieved great military victories or built cities or led armies. We never hear about his wealth, his lineage, or his position. What set him apart was one simple thing. He prayed. And not just any prayer. He prayed a bold, daring, honest, and faith-filled request to God. A prayer so powerful that the writer of Chronicles paused an entire genealogy to capture it. 1 Chronicles 4 verse 10 tells us, Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me, and keep me from harm so that I will be free from pain." Let's break down what Jabez asked for. 1. Oh, that you would bless me. He wasn't ashamed to ask for God's blessing. Jabez knew that without God's favor, life would be limited. He wasn't asking to be rich for selfish reasons. He was asking to walk in divine favor, to live under the fullness of what God had for him. 2. And enlarge my territory. This wasn't just about land, although land was valuable. It was a request for increase, influence, opportunity, purpose. Jabez didn't want to live small because of a name someone gave him. He wanted to step into everything God had planned for his life. 3. Let your hand be with me. Jabez didn't want success without God's presence. He wasn't asking for a life of ease. He was asking for a life led by God, guided by His wisdom, and empowered by His strength. 4. And keep me from harm so that I will be free from pain. Here, we see him confront the meaning of his name. He didn't want to live under the shadow of sorrow forever. He asked God to break the cycle, to protect him not just from physical danger, but from the kind of pain that had marked his beginning. This wasn't a casual prayer. It was a cry from the heart. And what happened next? And God granted his request. No dramatic scene. No angels. No visions. Just a simple statement. God heard him and answered. Jabez's story is proof that you are not limited by what others say about you, not even by what you've been called since birth. His name meant pain, but his life meant purpose. His story was supposed to be brief, insignificant, a name on a list. But because he chose to pray, because he dared to ask God for more, his life stood out among thousands of names. He didn't let his name define him. He let his faith define him. Though the Bible never mentions Jabez again, his legacy lives on. For thousands of years, believers have turned to his short prayer as a model for how to ask God for more, with humility and boldness at the same time. His prayer has become famous not because of its words, but because of its heart. He didn't beg God to take away the past. He didn't wallow in his pain. He looked ahead and asked God to do something new. That's what made him honorable. What lesson do we learn from the story of Jabez? 1. Your past does not determine your future. Jabez's name was his past, but not his destiny. Whatever has marked your beginning, poverty, pain, shame, rejection, it doesn't have to shape the rest of your story. 2. It is okay to ask God for more. Jabez didn't settle. He wanted more, and he asked for it. If your heart is right, if your motive is pure, it's not prideful to pray for blessing, growth, and increase. It honors God when we believe He is able to do more than we can imagine. 3. Real success depends on God's presence. Jabez didn't want a bigger life without God in it. He asked for God's hand to be with him, meaning, don't let me do this alone. Guide me. Protect me. Walk with me. 4. Break the cycle. Jabez refused to repeat the pain of the past. He asked God to keep him from harm and from the sorrow that defined his name. Maybe his family had always struggled. Maybe there was generational suffering. But Jabez drew a line and said, "It ends with me." It's easy to overlook people like Jabez. He didn't lead an army or perform miracles. His story is only 2 verses long. But that's the point. God is not looking for those with fame or flawless history. He honors those who turn to Him with faith. In a chapter full of names, God paused to highlight one man whose only recorded act was prayer. That's how powerful prayer is. You don't have to accept every label that life gives you. You don't have to be defined by your pain, your past, or even your family history. Like Jabez, you can cry out to the God of Israel. You can ask Him to bless you, to enlarge your life, to walk with you, and to protect you from the harm that's tried to follow you for years. And the same God who answered Jabez, quietly but completely, can answer you, too. Because the story of Jabez is not just about a man who prayed once. It's about what happens when you refuse to settle for a painful name and instead reach for a better future, with God leading the way. Make sure hit that subscribe button so you won't miss our next video. Thank you.